on the trade between China and the U.S. I sat down with Yukon Hunag, Senior Associate at the Carnegie Asia Program, and I asked him about the issues between the two.
The background to this situation is that you have the cybersecurity complaints. You have concerns that the bilateral investment treaty discussions are not going to go very rapidly. There's the tension because of the TPP in the air. There's a tension that arose because of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, where China felt that the United States was not being very, very helpful. They got to figure out a way. They weren't very helpful. And it was a foolish thing. Everyone realizes that. Both of them have a lot to gain by trying to find constructive ways to work on these issues in the future. Trade still remains a tense situation. It's getting more tense because China is getting harder on questions of sophisticated IT, its role in the country. China is still very concerned about services, particularly high-value services, and opening it up, and the U.S. wants to enter. China continues to be very sensitive about the fact that it's not treated equally. It still has concerns about being treated in the category of SOEs, which have more restrictions in terms of entry. 3 or 4 times as many China potential investments are subject to CFIUS reviews compared to other countries. Even though these reviews may be perfectly neutral and fine, nevertheless there's a perception out there that
the 2 trade deals on the table now, the BIT, the Bilateral Investment Treaty, that's between the U.S. and China, that's being discussed. Then you have this other more innocuous TPP, which is a whole nother Pacific Rim trade deal minus China. The two, could they ever complement each other, and how are they going to negotiate these deals in the face of all this criticism that they're getting? Because it doesn't seem like Congress is all that on board on any of these trade deals. And for that matter, we haven't heard a lot of voices from even businesses trying to push these trade deals, aside from just a few.
We're in the political season. The campaign is ratcheting up for the nominations of the Republican Party, Democratic Party. The TPP is being used politically as a means of so-called containing China. It's unfortunate, because a trade deal to be successful must be all-embracing. The more you include, you're better off you are.
But the fact that it doesn't include China, it is a fact. Is it an attempt to contain China because it doesn't have China in the deal?
Here's the great irony. What is the purpose of the TPP? It's to establish a very high standard in trade investment relations. What's the purpose of having a high standard if that standard doesn't apply to everyone? It doesn't make sense. What you really want is a TPP which ultimately sets, let's say, from an American perspective, a high standard, but that standard applies to China. So then the real question in the end is, at what point, if the TPP is finally approved, at what point will the TPP be extended to a point or made attractive enough that China says, I would like to join, I would like to embrace or modify or be part of these standards? And if that occurs, the TPP will be a great success. But a TPP without China, a TPP which consistently does not have China in there, in some ways is only a partial success.
And the BIT? I mean, anything we can expect from this week's meetings?
I don't think you're going to find the BIT coming to fruition in the immediate future. It's tough enough to get the TPP politically approved, and its approval is partly conditioned on the fact China is not part of this. But can one imagine trying to get a bilateral investment treaty, which is directly relating to China, past the political noise that we currently hear? Now, what are some of these very sensitive issues? Major issue: what can American investors invest in China in areas which are currently prohibitive or restricted? The American investors will want a lot of change and a lot of improvement. Is China willing and ready? Not entirely clear. China wants the security review process in the United States to become more transparent and open. Okay? At the same time, there are these concerns and allegations against each other about cybersecurity, spying. Security concerns get exacerbated. So I would say that the emotional tensions, the political complexities, the BIT will, at some point in time, become a real possibility, but my guess is it's likely to be in the next political cycle.
What are you most worried about right now?
What I'm most worried about is that the U.S. and China, in the heat of all these sensitivities, are unable to find areas where they mutually can benefit and clearly could benefit. I'll give you one example. Both countries are very much interested in climate change and green growth technologies. They're the 2 largest polluters. What's the problem in that area? The problem in that area is that the technology, whether it's solar or wind turbine, is too expensive. So many companies don't want to practice it. How do you deal with this? Well, you only can deal with this by driving the prices down. Volume in production and better technology. Who can accomplish this? The answer is it takes both an American and Chinese interests working together to do this. Because China has that capacity, scale to drive production costs down. U.S. has the technical expertise. And why should they collaborate in this particular area and not something else, for example? And the answer is this is the one unique area which needs government subsidies and support. Other transactions are purely commercial. No one should really get involved. And why do they need subsidy and support? Because it's a global benefit and global good. And this is an area where, in fact, the two can actually make progress. But again, there's a lot of suing each other, unfair subsidies, market competition. This is what worries me the most, that even in areas where it's obvious, you're not getting the kind of collaboration that makes sense.